Greetings, peoples. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy United Leader Class G1 Universe Sandstorm. This finally arrived. I ordered this thing a month ago. And I was gone when it was when it arrived, so I had to wait for it to get here, and that was fun. So, before we take an in-depth look at the figure, let us first take a look at the packaging. Now, this is new leader packaging, so there's the hollow window, new leader packaging, so you just whoop, whoop. For a comparison, I will bring out another package. Alright, for comparison to this package, I will bring out the Legacy Evolution Leader Class Blitzwing package, so you can see the difference. No window, window. No window, window. That's the difference. That is literally the only difference. Just wanted to bring out another package to show that off. Now I'm going to put this back in my closet. Alright, now that that's back in my closet, we can take a look at this box. So you got G1 Triple Changer Sandstorm, Legacy United, Leader Class, 3-in-1. You got Legacy United on the top. On the side, you get the poster for Legacy United with animated Optimus. You get some of the Rock Lords back there, animated Bumblebee, Rescue Bots Chase, Armada Megatron combined with Tidal Wave. You get Windblade. I think that's I can't remember what his name is in Magmatron. Until we get an official reveal for the 86 Optimus, my plan is to get Magmatron in August until we get an official reveal for the 86 Optimus. But with the image we have right now, I'm leaning towards Magmatron for my commander for this year. Then we got Art of Sandstorm on side. You get product shots, robot mode, and his vehicle mode. You can see the big difference between complexity into buggy mode and to helicopter mode. So this guy is quite complex going into one mode and quite simple going into the other. So that was the packaging. So let us now bring out the man himself, Sandstorm, and before I begin, I want to make a very important note. This piece out of the box is not there. It is packaged with the accessories in the little tissue paper thing, so just be cautious of that. But here we have Sandstorm in his robot mode, and this is a very good-looking robot mode. This takes cues from mainly the G1 toy, as far as I'm aware, which the G1 toy is a very simple thing, but I think this takes most of its design cues from that toy, especially when you go into the head sculpt, which, as you can see, has a battle mask. Let's adjust the light so you can see the battle mask better. So you can see, as you can see, he has a battle mask kind of like the G1 toy instead of the bare face like the show model had. Which I think they're going to reissue this with that face and maybe a more show-accurate color scheme, because I've heard on the stream where they revealed this, one of the designers, Mark, said that they haven't forgot about the, quote, handsome face. So then they'll probably reissue this in maybe a couple of years down the line with a new face sculpt, or they'll just reissue it next year, or with the new line like they did for Blitzwing. If you don't know, Blitzwing was in Legacy, and then he got reissued into Legacy Evolution. So this guy's in Legacy United, and then maybe they'll reissue him in the line next year, but with more show-accurate accurate color scheme, because in the show, he had a lot more yellow on him, but this toy is more primarily orange. And, of course, this goes more with the toy head rather than the show head. So now with and he does have a backpack, but like that's accurate. Both the toy and the show model had that. He does have the plank feet, has plank foot syndrome. He has plank foot syndrome, which is shared between him and the Gamer Edition Sideswipe. I don't have the Gamer Edition Sideswipe, unfortunately, but so he does have plank feet, but that means he is a very stable figure. He's quite stable, like, because he's got massive heels. Dang it. I guess I was wrong, so whatever. Now, let us turn to, before we do accessories, let's do size comparisons. So I'm just going to compare him next to some of his G1 Bot brothers. So first we're going to compare him next to Legacy Evolution Blitzwing, which is my only other Legacy triple changer. I have 3 triple changers now, these 2 and the Bumblebee movie Megatron. So these 2 look really nice together. Next up, we're going to compare him next to 2 86 Deluxe figures. We have 86 Perceptor. I'm going to put him over here so you can see his face. 86 Perceptor. So there's that piece of scale for y'all. Next up we have the 86 RC. So once again, there's that scale comparison. Next up we have the Voyager class 86 Ironhide, the dead one specifically, because I'm not going to be using my alive copy because that one. Yeah, so there's that scale comparison. And finally, we have him alongside the Kingdom / Legacy Blaster. And if we're going to have Blaster, we might as well throw Eject in here as well. Might as well throw Eject in here as well. So there is the comparison between these guys. Eject is tiny because he goes in there. Fun! This thing is made entirely of clear plastic. It's gonna explode one day. So there is size comparisons. Now, let's look at his accessories. Now, this is one of the smaller, chunkier triple changer leaders. So he has accessories to make up for that. As you saw with Blaster, he is about Voyager class scale. So, with the engineering of a triple changer, that compensates the Lear class and the accessories. So he's got a gun, generic black blaster that just pegs into his hand. So there is that. It can also store on these ports on the back. You can do that however you would like. I like doing it like this, so that way it looks like it's kind of slung over. And then you have a teeny tiny little bitty sidearm, which I think goes here. I can't for the life of me remember if it goes on this side or this side. Here, I'm going to dig out the packaging real quick so I can look at some reference photos. Never mind, I didn't put the packaging in my closet. So, let's look at this. Yeah, it does appear that it goes on his left arm. Maybe he's ambidextrous, who knows? But it does appear to go on his left arm, so it's a bit interesting. It's quite a bit interesting, in fact. And the product shots, he's holding it, but yeah, what the heck. Just pegs into his left arm. Now, for the single coolest accessory on this guy, and probably the coolest accessory I own, the cage and winch. You've already heard a lot about this, but in case you don't know, it is a functional winch with a string, and the cage disassembles into 3 components, and you will see why it does that later on. So let's just wind this back up. The string itself is very durable, but do be careful with it because it is a string. So it can break. Not saying it's fragile, I'm just saying it's possible. So here's the cage. He can use it as like a mace in robot mode, which is really, really cool. But now, let's get on to his articulation. Head is on a ball joint, but it more shifts on the transformation in this section. So he can look up that far, can look down a little, he can tilt, and kind of hard to get at, but it can rotate to about that far. Shoulders pull a full 360, go in and out. I've heard people have trouble pegging the chest in. That's mainly due to the waist. This piece can go forward, which would then result in making the chest difficult to peg in. You want to make sure this is pushed back all the way on its mushroom peg, so that way the chest pegs in and won't come out unless you want it to. There is a very tight bicep rotation that if you try to use, it will unpeg this panel. So I recommend grabbing at the shoulder and then rotating the bicep. There's a double bend at the elbow for transformation. There is a wrist rotation. There is a waist joint. It is very tight and very slight. That rhymed. But if you bring it forward, then you get more range. You get about that much range out of the waist joint if you bring it forward. So there is that piece of posability. Recording this at I'm recording this at 11 in the morning. I'm tired. Hips can kick forward that far. You can kick back that far. Can go in and out. There's a thigh joint. 90 degrees of bend at the knee. There's a really nice deep ankle pivot, and the heel can go down, and the toe can go down, and the heel can go down. So articulation on this guy is really nice. You can get him into some really good action poses. If you want to. So there is your action pose for the day. Now, let us transform this thing into his Dune Buggy alternate mode. So this is definitely the simplest transformation that he has. And Dune Buggy mode is the mode that is compromised. However, it still looks good. So the first thing we're going to do is the arms. So you want to unpeg that, fold the hand in, collapse that, and snap it in. Then you want to use that double joint to collapse this whole assembly. So do the same thing on the other side. Next, what you're going to want to do is just T-pose them real quick. Take the feet, straighten them out, collapse the heels, and straighten the foot out. And the instructions tell you to compress the legs when they're conjoined, but I like doing them separate because it just makes it easier. So there is that slider joint back there that you just want to, and then you want to make sure it clicks. And then my issue with the legs is getting them to actually peg together. You got to push as hard as you physically can in order to make sure these peg together and stay pegged together. It's a little annoying, but yeah, whatever. So, there's the legs fully transformed. Next, you want to unpeg chest. And you want to take this entire inner assembly and bring it out. Want to fold the head back, and these two tiny shallow ports back here will go into these two pegs. Just make sure those slot in. Take these panels on side, fold them out. These two tabs will peg into these two slots on what was the knee pads, so slide that in. And then this tab here will peg into a slot that is underneath the... Here, you can barely see it right there. See that little rectangular hole right there? That tab goes in there. So just bring that down and slot that into place. Bring it down, slot it into place. Now, for a final touch for the base, Dune Buggy mode, you want to split this assembly right down the middle to become the spoiler. Then you want to lower the camera. And with all that being said and done, here we have the Dune Buggy mode for Sandstorm. Now, out of his 3 modes, this is the mode that is compromised, but it is still really nice. And before we get into it, I would like to take the cage in. So, you want to disassemble this. Goes into 3 separate pieces. Then you want to flip it down here. As you can see, there's a little port peg there that'll go into that port. So you want to open this up. Make sure these tabs are facing upwards, so that way they will peg into those slots there. So just get that in there, and that kind of helps to hold the legs together. Next, you want to take the winch and peg it into that port there. Then the cage, you want to make sure this bar is facing backwards, and these 2 bars will go into these 2 holes. So after all that is said and done, there you have the completed Dune Buggy mode, which I think looks really good. Now, from the front, this thing looks basically perfect. Just like a Dune Buggy you would, just like G1. You look at it from the side, it kind of starts to fall apart, but it's still really nice. But then you look at it from back, and yeah, that is... This is definitely the compromised mode of the figure, but it is still a really good mode for this guy to have. And my light box is falling apart. This is a very good mode for this guy to have. So, and he does have kind of semi-rubberized tires that are pinned, so he rolls incredibly well. Then weapon storage, it's just transformers. The little sidearm actually does kind of hide away. You want to peg it in to the arm down here. Technically, you wouldn't have to remove it for transformation. You would just have to rotate it. So that kind of hides that away. And then gun just does the peg it onto the top and call it a day. So now, let's do some vehicle mode size comparisons. And I'm about to take like 10 minutes to transform everything. Fun! Well, that took a long time. So here we have the Legacy Evolution Leader Class Blitzwing. And I'd say I genuinely have no clue how the scale between a Dune Racer and a Sherman tank works. I don't know that scale. I am sorry. Forgive me. Forgive me. trying to do an Optimus impression. Forgive me. Proceeds to beat the ever-loving crap out of Bumblebee. Alright, so I don't know how this scale works, but whatever. I think these two look good together regardless. Next up, we have the 86 Perceptor, and this is comparing him in his tank mode, but microscope mode comparison looks something along the lines of that. So that's fun. Next up we have the Studio Series 86 RC. So there's that scale comparison. Next up we have the Voyager Class 86 Ironhide. Last but not least, we have the Kingdom/Legacy Blaster and Eject. So now that we have gotten those vehicle modes, Odus size comparisons done and over with, now it is time for us to do the much more complex task of transforming this figure into its helicopter mode. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove his accessories. So just get rid of all this crap. Now I say build the cage now, because why not? Got to make sure it goes on the right way. So there's the cage built. So next you're going to want to compress this back into its robot mode, back into its original configuration. You're going to want to unpeg the arms and collapse them back into their bot mode configuration. You're going to want to unpeg the chest. You're going to want to unpeg this assembly and convert it back into its robot mode configuration. But then you want to grab these pieces and shove it downwards. Now we start getting into the differences. So you want to collapse these panels, and now we're going to do the really cool thing with the tires. So you want to unpeg this, rotate it, and rotate it upwards. But then for this one, you want to unpeg it, rotate it, and leave it down. Now there is a tab here, which will peg into that slot. So you want to bring this assembly up, make sure that tab and slot line up. Now you want to do the same thing on this side. Then you want to just kind of compress the wheels, and that kind of fills out the rear of the helicopter mode. So next what you're going to want to do is flip out this flight stand port, collapse this assembly. These tabs on the side of the arms will peg into those slots right there. So just snap those pieces into place. Just make sure it all pegs together. Now we can do the backpack. The backpack is cool. So you want to flip out these little struts. You want to unpeg this. You want to take this assembly and rotate it 180 degrees. It's on a very tight mushroom peg. It'll kind of soft click into place. Then you want to shift this piece down and make sure the double hinge is oriented accordingly, so that slot goes into that tab. Once again, that slot goes into that tab. Want to make sure that's rotated accordingly. Then you want to combine the front. Now we really get to work on the backpack. So take this piece, fold it out, bring out the rotor blades, bring them out at the back, rotate this assembly back, bring the backpack back, rotate the rotor blades, bring this piece up. and then collapse it, and then you want to collapse the back, and then you want to collapse these panels over this. They will stay in place. Then last but not least, you want to splay out the rotor blades, and there you have helicopter mode, which I think looks really cool. This is definitely the vehicle mode they prioritized, but both modes still look good. That spins. Oh, that is really weird on camera. When I do that on camera, I actually see the individual blades rotating, but here it's just kind of a blur. You know what I mean? Where if something rotates super fast, it's blurry. Not here on camera. It actually I can see the blades as they rotate, whereas on in real life, I can't really do that. That is so cool. That is actually really cool. Oh my god, I'm geeking out over here. Wait. It does that for that, too. Oh, that is so cool. That's so cool, the effect that the camera has on it. Okay. So he does roll in this mode thanks to a combination of the tires of the back tires of the Doom Buggy mode and these little landing gears here. And so he does roll a helicopter rolling, I know. So now for integration of the cage. So you can do it either this way or you can do it this way. I'm not sure which way is intended, but I'm just going to do this way. So you bring this out and then you slide it in to here, and that does kind of fill out that hollow gap there, and it now gives you the helicopter with the cage on it. Let's wind the winch up so you can see that better. So there you have your rescue helicopter, and then the weapons do exactly what you would expect them to do. You just slap them on the side. Then to remove the cage, you open this up and kind of just wriggle that out. So there is Sandstorm in his helicopter mode. Now, let's do size comparisons. So I'm only going to need to transform one figure this time, and that'll be the Legacy Blitzwing, because that figure is also a triple changer, but everything else I just keep in its vehicular mode. So let's go ahead and transform Blitzwing right about now. Alright, so here we have the Legacy Blitzwing in his jet mode, and if you didn't know what a compromised mode was before, you do now. You can check out my review on this guy for my thoughts on that, but needless to say, that it isn't great. So now we have Perceptor, and so that's tank mode comparison. Now let's get into his microscope comparison, which looks like this. It's very simple conversion from mode to mode. This is less of a triple chain. I don't count this as a triple changer. I count this as a robot with a quote unquote hidden mode. So there's that comparison. Next up we have 86RC. So there's that comparison. Then we have the Voyager class Ironhide, which my one problem with this helicopter mode is I feel it's kind of out of scale. I feel like this should be way bigger because it's a helicopter. It's the same I think it's the same helicopter as Bayverse Blackout, which is a Sikorsky. Yeah, I think it's a Sikorsky MH2 Super Stallion. That's either Blackout or Grindor. I think the Sikorsky, yeah, is Super Stallion is Grindor. Can't I know it's a Sikorsky. Yeah. I know it's a Sikorsky, yeah, helicopter black as Blackout, but I can't for the life of me remember if it's the Sikorsky. I think it's the Pavlo. Yeah, it's the Sikorsky Pavlo. So this is that. This resembles that helicopter, so I think it'd be much bigger, but G1 mass shifting shenanigans. That we have blaster and eject. So I'm gonna do a transformation time lapse. What fell over? I'm gonna do a transformation time lapse, and then I'm gonna go into final thoughts. This time it'll actually be sped up. I promise. I won't include. I tried to include music on the last one, and for some reason that didn't speed it up or whatever. This time it will be sped up. Promise. Alright, so some final thoughts on this figure. I think this is a very good figure, and if you can find it, I would recommend copping it. At Target, liters are like $35. So that is that. And with that being said and done, I will have you guys look forward to my next review. And I will see you all later. Bye.